I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into our house. The silence hit first. No TV, no music, no sounds of Mom cooking. Just the tick-tick-tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway, marking time like a countdown. My parents sat in opposite corners of the living room, Mom perched on the edge of the armchair, Dad slumped into the couch. They both looked up when I walked in, their faces wearing matching expressions I'd never seen before. "Zadie, honey," Mom said, her voice too bright.
Come sit down.
"We need to talk." I dropped my backpack by the door, the thud echoing through the quiet room. "I have a lot of homework." "This is important," Dad cut in, patting the space beside him. I sat between them, the leather couch squeaking under my weight. A photo of us at the beach last summer caught my eye, all three of us smiling, sand in our hair, sunburned and happy. It felt like looking at strangers. "Your father and I," Mom started, then stopped, twisting her wedding ring. "We've decided. We're getting divorced," Dad finished. "And we're both seeing other people." The words hit like a physical blow. I stared at the beach photo, at our frozen smiles. "Other people? I've been dating Jackson for a few months," Mom said softly. "He has twin daughters your age."
My throat went dry.
"Months." Dad cleared his throat. "And I'm with Celeste. She has a son, Orion. They'll be moving in with me next month." I looked between them, these strangers wearing my parents' faces. "When were you planning to tell me about any of this?" "We wanted to wait until we were sure," Mom began. "Sure about what? That you'd found better families?" The words came out sharp, cutting. "It's not like that, honey," Dad said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away, standing up. "I have homework." "Zadie, wait." But I was already moving, grabbing my backpack, heading for the stairs. Behind me, I heard them start to argue in hushed voices about whose fault this was, who should have said what. I closed my bedroom door and leaned against it, sliding down to the floor. Through the wall, I could hear the grandfather clock, still counting down to whatever came next. Moving day felt like a funeral. Mom and I carried boxes into Jackson's house while his twin daughters, Eloan and Imogen, watched from the upstairs landing, whispering and giggling behind their hands. Their matching blonde heads disappeared when I looked up, like ghosts playing tricks. "Your room is the small one at the end of the hall," Mom said, not meeting my eyes. "The twins share the master suite. We thought it would be easier that way." The small room turned out to be a converted storage space, barely big enough for my bed and desk. The walls still smelled like paint, masking whatever had been stored here before. Through the thin wall, I could hear the twins' music pulsing. "It's cozy," I managed, setting down a box of books. "We'll make it work," Mom said, already backing toward the door. "Jackson's making his famous lasagna tonight. Family dinner at 6. Family. The word felt wrong in my mouth, like biting into something spoiled. I was hanging my clothes when Eloan appeared in my doorway, wearing my favorite sweater, the blue one Dad got me for Christmas. "Oh, this is yours," she said, plucking at the sleeve. "Imogen and I found it in the laundry room. We thought Mom bought it for us." "That's not," I started, but she was already gone, her footsteps light on the hardwood floor. At dinner, Jackson served his lasagna while the twins dominated the conversation, talking about their dance recital. Mom hung on every word, nodding and smiling like they were performing Shakespeare. "Zadie," Jackson said suddenly, "the twins mentioned you might be interested in joining their dance class?" I looked up from my untouched food. "I've never danced." "It would be good for you to get involved," Mom cut in. "Help you fit in better." "We could share costumes," Imogen said sweetly. "Since we're sisters now." I caught the look that passed between them, sharp as a paper cut. Under the table, my hands clenched into fists. "May I be excused?" I asked, my voice steady despite the trembling in my chest. "But you've hardly eaten," Jackson protested. I stood anyway, leaving my plate behind. As I climbed the stairs to my tiny room, I heard the twins' laughter floating up behind me, musical and cruel. I wasn't meant to hear the conversation. Mom and Jackson thought I was at Dad's, but I'd come home early after Orion accidentally locked me in the garage for 2 hours. Their voices drifted up from the kitchen as I crept upstairs. The twins' competition season is getting expensive, Jackson was saying, with the new costumes and travel costs. We'll figure something out, Mom replied. Actually, there's Zadie's college fund. It's just sitting there. My foot missed the next step. I grabbed the railing to keep from falling. Are you sure? Jackson asked. I thought that was untouchable. She can get scholarships later. The twins need this now. They have real talent, Jax. Real talent. Unlike me, apparently. Besides, Mom continued, Griffin should be contributing more. He's barely paying child support as it is. I backed away from the stairs, but not before hearing Jackson's response. You're right. Your daughter can wait. My girls need this opportunity. Your daughter. My girls. The words carved themselves into my chest. In my room, I pulled out my phone and opened Dad's contact. 3 unanswered texts from last week stared back at me. He was probably busy with Celeste and Orion, just like Mom was busy with her new perfect family. A knock at my door made me jump. Imogen stood there, holding my blue sweater, now stretched and stained with something pink. Sorry, she said, not sounding sorry at all. We were practicing our routine and had a little accident with some juice. But Mom says you can just buy another one, right? I stared at the ruined sweater, remembering Dad's face when he gave it to me. That was a Christmas gift.
Oh.
Imogen's smile widened. Well, Christmas is coming again. Maybe you can ask for 2 this time, 1 for each of us. She dropped the sweater at my feet and skipped away, humming the tune from their dance routine. I picked up the sweater, my fingers finding a small tear in the sleeve that looked suspiciously like it had been made with scissors. Through my window, I could see Aunt Rowan's house 3 blocks away, its porch light glowing like a beacon in the growing dark. The sound of shattering glass froze me in the doorway. Jackson's prized crystal vase, a family heirloom, lay in pieces on the hardwood floor. Eloan stood nearby, her face a mask of innocent concern, while Imogen pointed at me. We saw her, Imogen said, her voice trembling perfectly. She was trying to move it, and I just got home. I protested, my backpack still on my shoulder. I wasn't even. Girls, what happened? Mom appeared behind me, and I felt my stomach drop at her tone. She already believed them. It was an accident, Eloan added softly. But when we tried to help, she pushed us away. Jackson arrived, his face darkening at the sight of the shattered crystal. That was my grandmother's. I didn't, but the words died in my throat as Mom put her arm around Imogen, who had started crying on cue. The storage room, Jackson said quietly. Until you're ready to tell the truth. My blood went cold. The storage room was a windowless space under the stairs, where Jackson kept his tools. And spiders. So many spiders. Mom, I turned to her, searching for any sign of the mother who used to check under my bed for monsters. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Listen to Jackson, Zadie. The twins exchanged triumphant glances as Jackson gripped my arm, steering me toward the door under the stairs. I caught a glimpse of their phones, already recording. 4 hours should help you think about what you've done, he said, pushing me inside. The door clicked shut. Darkness pressed in, thick and immediate. Something skittered across my shoe, and I bit back a scream. Please, I called out, my voice shaking. I'm telling the truth. But footsteps were already retreating, leaving me alone in the dark. My phone buzzed, a video from an unknown number. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. There were the twins, carefully positioning the vase near the edge of the table 10 minutes ago. Their faces gleamed with anticipation as they waited for my return. Through the thin door, I heard their laughter floating down from upstairs, followed by Mom's voice. Girls, what would you like for dinner? In the darkness, I reached for my phone again, this time scrolling to Aunt Rowan's number. Aunt Rowan's kitchen smelled like cinnamon and safety. She set a mug of hot chocolate in front of me, studying the bruise on my wrist where Jackson had gripped too hard. Show me the video again, she said quietly. I played it, watching her face darken as the twins staged their setup. When it finished, she didn't speak for a long moment. Have you shown this to your mother? I wrapped my hands around the warm mug.
She doesn't want to see it.
Says I'm just trying to cause trouble. And your father? He's too busy with Orion's football games. The words tasted bitter. Besides, Celeste says I'm just jealous of their real family. Rowan's hand tightened on the counter. The doorbell rang, and Uncle Thane's voice carried from the entryway, followed by an older woman's warm laugh. Grandmother Etta appeared in the doorway, her silver hair gleaming. "There's my doctor," she said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like lavender and old books. She'd started calling me that after finding my hidden medical school brochures. "I'm not," I started, but she pressed something into my hand. A worn leather journal. "Open it later," she whispered, "when you're ready to see your future." The front door slammed. Mom stood in the kitchen entrance, her face flushed with anger. "Zadie, get your things."
Now.
"Marlo," Rowan stepped forward. "We need to talk about." "About what?" "How you're undermining my authority. Turning my daughter against me."
About this.
I held up my phone, the video ready to play. Mom waved it away. "I don't have time for your accusations. The twins have their showcase tonight, and we're already late." "The showcase you're funding with my college money?" The words escaped before I could stop them. Mom's face went white. Behind her, Etta and Rowan exchanged looks.
Who told you about that?
Mom demanded. "I heard you and Jackson. Just like the twins heard you promise them my room once I'm gone for summer camp." "That's not..." Mom stopped, her expression shifting. "Well, maybe it's for the best. You clearly prefer being here anyway." She turned to leave, but Etta's voice stopped her. "Remember, Marlo, some choices can't be unmade." Mom didn't look back as she left. In the silence that followed, I opened Etta's journal, finding a bank statement tucked inside. My hands shook as I read the numbers. "Your future," Etta said softly, "is still yours to choose." Dad's house loomed before me, Etta's journal clutched in my hand. Through the window, I could see his new family having dinner, Celeste serving pasta, Orion laughing at something. A normal family dinner I was never invited to. The doorbell felt cold under my finger. Dad answered, surprise flickering across his face.
Zadie?
"We weren't expecting. Did you know?" I thrust my phone forward, playing the video of the twin setup. "Did Mom tell you about the college fund?" He glanced over his shoulder, lowering his voice. "This isn't a good time. Orion has a big game tomorrow, and..." "When is it a good time?" My voice cracked. "When they've taken everything?" Celeste appeared behind him. "Griffin, dinner's getting cold."
Oh, Zadie.
"We're actually in the middle of a family meeting." "Family meeting," I repeated.
Right.
"About the house renovation? The one you're using my child support payments for?" Dad's face darkened. "Who told you?" "Nobody had to tell me. I found the papers in Mom's office. Just like I found out about the college fund and the summer camp plans and everything else you both tried to hide." "You were snooping?" Celeste's voice turned sharp. I was trying to understand why my parents stopped loving me. The words hung in the air. Through the window, I could see Orion watching, his fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Dad stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind him. "Zadie, you're being dramatic. We're just trying to build new lives. You need to accept that." "Like you accepted Etta's terms?" I opened the journal, showing him the bank statement. "She left money for my education. Were you going to tell me about that?" His expression shifted, something cold replacing the dismissal. "Those funds are being managed by you and Mom? Like my child support? My college fund?" I backed away, something finally breaking loose inside me. "You know what?
Keep it.
Keep all of it. I'd rather have nothing than be your afterthought. Zadie." But I was already running, his voice fading behind me. My phone buzzed a message from Mom. "The twins won first place. Wish you'd been there to support your sisters." I deleted it without responding, my feet carrying me toward the only place that still felt like home. Aunt Rowan's porch light glowed in the distance, a beacon in the growing dark. The lawyer's office felt too small for all the tension it held. Mom and Dad sat across from me, their faces masks of concern that hadn't existed yesterday. Between us, Etta's will lay open on the mahogany desk. "A trust fund," Mom said softly. All this time, she was planning to protect me? I finished. Maybe she saw what you couldn't. Dad leaned forward. Sweetheart, we only want what's best. Like using my college fund for the twins' dance competitions? Or my child support for Orion's new car? The lawyer cleared his throat. The terms are quite clear. The trust becomes accessible when Zadie turns 18, provided she maintains her academic standing and… We're her parents, Mom interrupted. Surely we have some say in… You lost that right, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Right around the time you locked me in a spider-filled closet. The door opened. Orion stepped in, clutching his phone. I have something you need to see. This is a private meeting, Dad started, but Orion was already playing the video. There were the twins, giggling as they set up the vase incident. But the footage continued, showing Jackson and Mom discussing the punishment beforehand. Planning it. I found it on Imogen's cloud drive, Orion said. There's more. Mom's face went white. Dad wouldn't look at me. I don't want revenge, I said, standing. I just want to be free of all of you. You can't just… Mom reached for me. Actually, she can. Rowan appeared in the doorway. The emergency custody papers were approved this morning. Zadie comes home with me. Home, I repeated, tasting the word's truth. This isn't over, Dad warned. You're right. I picked up Etta's journal. It's just beginning, but not the way you planned. I walked out with Rowan, leaving them with their schemes and lies. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Orion giving me a slight nod. Maybe some bridges weren't completely burned after all, but that was tomorrow's problem. Today, I was going home, to a real family, to my future, to myself. For years later, I straightened my white coat, the name Dr. Zadie Mitchell freshly embroidered above the pocket. My first day of residency at Children's Memorial felt like stepping into Etta's journal pages, the ones where she'd written about her own medical career. Her hopes for mine. A familiar figure waited by the hospital entrance. Orion, taller now, more serious. Hey, Doc, he said, handing me a coffee. Thought you might need this. Thanks for coming. I hadn't seen him since the custody hearing, though we texted occasionally. How are they? Mom and Dad got divorced last year. The twins are in college, dance scholarships.
He paused.
They ask about you sometimes. I nodded, thinking of the trust fund I'd split into 3 parts: my medical school, a scholarship foundation for kids from broken homes, and a separate account for my half-sister Lily's education. Your mom tried to contact me, Orion said quietly, when she heard about your graduation. And Dad, still pretending everything was your fault. He shrugged. Some people never change. A young patient waved from a window above us. I waved back, remembering how Etta used to say healing comes in many forms. I found this. Orion pulled out a crumpled photo, me at 7, riding on Dad's shoulders, Mom laughing beside us. Thought you might want it. I studied the stranger faces in the photo. Keep it. That family doesn't exist anymore. No, he agreed. But maybe that's okay. My pager beeped, my first patient waiting. Before heading in, I hugged Orion, surprising us both. Thanks for the video evidence back then, I said. It made choosing my real family easier. Thanks for showing me there's always a choice. Inside, Rowan and Thane waited with flowers. Their pride felt warmer than any approval I'd ever sought from my biological parents. Ready, Dr. Mitchell? Rowan asked, straightening my coat. I touched Etta's journal in my pocket, thinking of her last letter. Family isn't about blood or blame. It's about who helps you become your truest self. Ready, I said, stepping forward into the life I'd chosen, the one I'd fought for, the one that finally felt like mine.